Hello, this is Dave, the RadOldDad, and today we're going to be looking at this D&D Nulzer's figurine. It's a ghost, and there's also a banshee that comes with that for $4.49 from Miniature Market, so it's a heck of a deal. This isn't really a tutorial, as I've never painted one of these before, so you can learn from my mistakes as to what not to do, and we'll see what happens. Real quickly, I know they always show their materials. You'll be hard pressed to get mine because most of my inks are from the expert set of inks and washes from Citadel Color from the 1980s. Okay, so let's move right on into this as I tell you a little bit about the purpose for this. One is I have not seen a lot of good tutorials as to how to paint these translucent minis. And that might be because a lot of people want them purely translucent, which is fine, but I'm looking more for a Ghostbusters kind of, Slimer feel with some color. And so we're going to see what happens. We're going to play with some glazes and some inks and some washes as we go. A little bit about me. The other part is this is my third incarnation as a miniature painter. I started playing D&D when I was about 12 years old in the late 1970s, which tells you about how old I am, 42 years ago. And so, I started painting when I was in high school, not very much. I usually had my friends who were artists painting, so I was basically slapping paint on figurines, got a little bit better, then moved to Europe for a little bit, stopped painting, stopped playing, and then got back into it and got a little bit better, and then stopped again because I had lots of kids, well, 4 anyway, and so now I've started painting again. So a lot of these techniques, a lot of these materials are going to be pretty much new to me. So although I said I was going to start with those inks, what I'm starting with now is a little bit of Heartthrob pink, which I actually got for free when I was buying some paints. I got that, and so I'm going to put a little glaze medium in here because I just want kind of a light translucent color. I'm going to use a dry palette, and I know there's some discussion as to whether to use dry palettes or wet palettes when you're doing this. I'll use a slightly bigger brush, I think, for me. I'm going to use my single aught brush. It's not the best of brushes. It's a little bit old. Get a little water in there, mix it up. I'm sure there's going to be lots of mistakes. I might put a little bit of white in here. What I'm basically looking at is I think I want her dress to be pink. So I'm going to put a little bit on this newspaper, which you might not be able to see. It's a light pink. You can kind of see the color I've got here. Let's see, it's probably all bleached out from my light. I might not even need this light, but we'll see. All right, so we'll take a look at her dress. I think we'll start with the hardest place to screw up, which would be down here, and just see what happens when we kind of do this almost more as a wash than a glaze and kind of let it get into the cracks and see what happens. It's kind of getting in. I'm going to go crossways so it gets a little bit more into the folds. It's right now looking more like a wash than it is a glaze, and I don't think I want quite that much paint in the cracks at this point, so I'm going to just kind of work that around a little bit more. Get that on the edges. What it might turn out to be is it might take a couple of coats to do this, so we'll just kind of give her a coat and see what happens. The nice thing about this is if I don't like it, I can strip it down and start over. And the beautiful thing about this too is if I don't like it at all and have problems stripping it down, I'm out a whole, $4.50. Okay, which is not a whole lot of money. All right. So let's move that around a little bit more. What I might do is do like a light red, an ink wash on it and get some of that a little bit darker. I want that a little more uniform. I don't like the way it's kind of pooling on the sides there. All right, so we'll get this. We'll get that little crevice in there. We'll move some in here. It's not looking great, but this is still just like the first coat, and we'll kind of see what happens with it when we get a little bit more in there. I want that a little bit lighter. I thought I'd go with like a pink dress on this one. I'm not 100% sure why I want a pink dress, but I just thought with the color scheme, I'm going to do her face a little more in the blue tones with her skin. So I just kind of figured a pink and a blue would be kind of a nice combination. So maybe what I need is actually a heavier brush. I mean, I am no expert on this, that's for darn sure. So I suppose if you looked at this, if I keep making videos, this is going to be videos for hobbyists by a hobbyist. I'll show you my setup in a little while, but it's definitely not a pure studio. If you hear any noises in the background, it's probably one of my dogs. I've got 2 labs and they're both kind of zonked out, one on either side of me. Because I was smart enough to take them out and have them retrieve a few times, so hopefully they're tired enough where they're not going to be nudging me or disturbing me for the next while. But with labs you can never tell. Alright, at least we don't hear what sounds like a train or a sawmill in the background, which is what I had when we first came in here, and as they were both breathing pretty heavily. Alright, so this is actually, this Heartthrob pink is the color Pepto-Bismol. Okay, that's interesting. But we'll see what happens. You know, you can always kind of play with the shades a little bit. At least I'm hoping I can play with the shades a little bit. I don't know with these translucent minis. I mean, I just wanted to have a little bit of color, and I might have put a little bit too much color on that first part, because I'm kind of liking the way it looks with just that hint, just that little glaze. So what I think I'm going to do, and then you get rid of that brush, I'm going to get a bigger brush. This is the number 1, get a little water on that, and I might take some of this off with this brush and get it a little more translucent still. That seems to be working. Good. Take a little bit off of there. You can, hopefully you can kind of see how that looks. Because if I can just get like an overall uniform pinkish hue to her, and then give it like an ink wash. See, what I'm not doing is I'm leaving too much of this stuff on my brush as I'm painting, which is those of you who are probably more adept at glazes than I, which is probably everybody who's ever glazed a figurine. No. So glazing wasn't something that we talked about a lot in the 80s and 90s. I have looked at a few videos and watched it. It is amazing what one can learn now. I'll have to show you some of my throwback stuff. I'll show you a little bit of throwback stuff every video if I keep doing this. I still have my very first book on painting figurines, because in the 80s and early 90s there wasn't much for internet, and so you know, you learn by talking to people, and there wasn't, you know, having a community of miniature painters. I played D&D with my friends, so it's not like we went to the game shop or anything like that. So I didn't really have, oh, I'm painting her boots, which I shouldn't be doing. All right, it's kind of hard to see what everything is because she's translucent. I want those to be brown. So I started with the pink because that's my lightest color. I can make more mistakes with this and be able to cover it up more easily with darker colors. So I can be a little more devil may care here. Let's get that pink, keep that brown. I'm kind of liking some of this, the way it's looking. I don't want that quite as blotchy as it looks there. Maybe I'll pull a little bit of that paint out. Okay. But let's go back to my setup. I am definitely a hobbyist, so this is not for expert painters. Unless you just want to see me screw up and laugh at me, that's fine too. If you're looking for expert advice, there's a lot of brilliant painters out there. I don't know if I should name drop my favorite ones or not. I mean, I really like Scott from Miniacs. He's one of my favorites. He explains things very, very well. Dr. Faust, I thought, was really good. You know, you've got Dana or Dana, I don't know, I've never met her. Howell. I love her deadpan delivery. It's awesome. She does some beautiful, beautiful work. You've got Squidmar, who, my gosh, I mean, those guys, there's no way I'm going to ever paint on that level. However, you know, when I get done with this pink, you can maybe see some minis in the background. If you're like me, after you've spent so much time with your minis painting them, they sometimes feel like friends.
And as such, you know, it's kind of hard to get rid of them. All right, so we got the back of her dress. I'm just going to try not to paint her hair here, which again is kind of hard to see because she is translucent. All right, so it's not a bad idea to get, I thought for these, they've also got the resin versions. Here, I can kind of show you. I just printed it off, and this is about as good as I get with a sheet. Why is my computer doing that? All right, let's turn this off here. So you can get the resin. So I kind of thought like a pink, so I can kind of see on the front where it is. In retrospect, I probably should have done a picture of the back. I'm going to turn my light back on. Hopefully that's not too bleaching stuff out too much. We shall see, huh? All right. I kind of, you know, like again, I kind of like this. It's still translucent. How long is your sleeve here, young lady? Although she could be an old lady, because I don't know how long she's been dead. You know, I really like to paint figurines specific to the adventures that I'm running and or in. However, I've got some semi-translucent miniatures that are specific to the adventure. But before painting them, I wanted to play a little bit with these to see what I can do and what I cannot do. So this is more or less just kind of experimentation. So, you know, I might make this what I suppose you would call a tabletop quality. I don't know. I'm not a good enough painter generally to differentiate my qualities. It's just kind of like how much time you put into them. I suppose every different tabletop probably has a different level, doesn't it? There we go. I like a little more pink on some of those. That's the problem with something like this, you know, with this glaze. It's kind of a thin glaze. So some of these areas, it's not sticking very well, the flat areas. I think I need maybe a thicker glaze or maybe another coat on those areas. But we shall see here. Dry that brush off, get a little bit of that glaze out of there. Get a little bit of that glaze out of there. All right. There's a lot of glaze there. We'll take some of that out. All right, it looks like as it dries, it's lightening up a little bit. I think what I will do here is take a look at her. I do kind of like that pink color. All right, that's not bad. That's close to what I was wanting. Maybe I can push another coat on there. I don't know if it's quite dry yet, though. Let's just take a look. This seems to be fairly pink. I think I'd like a little more pink here. I'll push that paint down in towards that headstone and just paint it in the same direction, push it in the same direction as those folds, because I want a little more in those folds, and that'll help. So I suppose then what will happen is the surrounding areas will pick up some of that pink. Let's go a little bit up towards here, towards her belt or her bodice or whatever it is she's wearing under there. I don't know. All right, I'm starting to kind of whisper a little bit. That doesn't help. Okay, so as a final product, I don't like that, but as a step, I think we're doing okay. All right, let's see. Looking around, I could maybe see what the video looks like, since this is also a whole new world. I'm in a couple of new worlds here. A little scary. All right, and a little mermaid-esque, right? Okay. All right, so let's take a look. Let's get some paint on the front again, because I think that's going to need a little more pink here on the dress. A little more glaze. Just got those stitches in the front. Let's see, I'll have to see if I can't. I wonder if I can just slap some regular paint on those, almost like a dry brush or a highlight. That would be good. All right, get a little pink in there, get a little pink in there. Her back is definitely gonna not want to take a lot of color, being it's all flat. There's no folds in there whatsoever. All right. Let's keep moving that so there's not quite that heavy lineage that we're seeing. I know lineage isn't the word, but I'm just going to use it anyway. All right. Okay. I kind of would like to move on to the boots, maybe? Let's see. What I'm going to do is I'm going to hit pause on my camera, and I think I'm going to let her dry and maybe give her another coat. Alrighty. Alright, so I've taken a little bit of time. I don't know if it's all the way dry. I'm an impatient kind of guy. I don't know about you guys. So I'm going to maybe turn this light out and see if that helps. Does that look better? You know, I'm looking at the pink on her. It's not 100% uniform. We're going to have a wash on this. Washes are wonderful. They can hide so much. All right. So I was thinking with her, I would give her brown boots. Maybe a darker blue for the pants. And just kind of brownish hair. So, you know, let's take a look. Should we try the brown boots and see what we can come up with? So I've got 2 shades of brown. This ink, I'm looking at more for the hair. This is a darker brown, which I'm looking at more for the boots. So I think I need to be a little bit more careful with my applications here. So I'm not going to use the glazed medium. I don't know. I think sometimes just plain old water is better. All right, so I can put this where you guys can see it if you really want to. But I've just put a couple of drops of the brown ink in there. I'm going to get a little bit of water, mix it in, and take some of that off. All right, so if I can see where her boots are, I might need my lights to see her boots. Maybe I could bring in the trusty magnifying glass here. When you get old, you learn these cheats. All right. Oh, great. Now you guys can't see anything, though. All right. That's not going to work. Oh, well. So let's just take a look down here. That looks like a boot to me. So I'll just put a little bit of brown on that. It doesn't really cover. I'm wondering maybe instead of inks, I should just use paints. If that would cover a little bit better. Yeah, that just doesn't seem to be doing anything for me. All right, so we got to change of plan here. So we'll take a look. Here, I'll show you my great high-class setup. So I just basically built some paint shelves on cardboard. I've got my decent brushes, my dry brushes, my podge, that sort of stuff. All right. So let's kind of get back to where we were at. Down a little bit there. Thank you, camera. Make it check on that. No, that's not quite right. Let's go just a hair more. In a little bit more. Alrighty. So we'll find some brown paint here. So it's just Vallejo paint. That's all it is. I'm just going to put a drop of that in with the ink. Whoa, that was a big drop. Sometimes these gush out. I'm not a big fan of some of these eyedropper applications. I kind of like taking it out of the pot myself. I'll give that a mix. It seems a little thick, so let's put some water in there. All right. Boy, if I'd have known I was doing this, I would have been using my, I think that's still a little thick, wet palette, which is also a homemade contraption. All right, how's that look? Putting it on some newspaper to see how thick it is. Let's just try touching this on here and see what happens. Alrighty, there's your boot. And that covers a little better. Okay, and it's still a little translucent. I think I want my light though. Alright. There. Okay, so we will just kind of get that paint in there and let that cover. It's not It is more of a wash at this point, but it is still kind of giving me some color on the other areas of the boot, and I don't want a ton of color, and I don't mind it being a bit of a wash. Bring that up a little bit higher. See what happens. It's hard to see where the boot actually starts. Just kind of letting the paint come up on the texture to see if it can show me where the top of that boot is. I'd like a little bit more color there. Oh, there's a little bit too much color. It's kind of, let's push that down so it's not quite so gloppy there. All right. Get the very bottom. I don't know what I'm going to do with basing on this yet. I haven't thought that far ahead. Let's see if we can see here. I don't like there's like a little line that I can see, so I'm going to kind of running down that I don't like. All right. A little more color in here, maybe. Maybe that line is just where the boot comes into her dress there. There seems to be like a little something in there. All right. That almost looks like one boot. I don't like that little line there, so I'm going to try to get that brown to see if that can straighten out the edge of that boot. All right, let's rinse that. Let's get a little bit more paint here. Let me take that off on my... Let's see, where's the other boot go to? Okay, so actually that boot looks like it goes all the way up to here. I think I need more paint. It's not leaving anything. Okay. A little more paint there. And very carefully, she's got mid-thigh boots. Okay. That's fine. I can deal with that. I've got enough paint to cover that. I hope. Here we go. Okay. So, it's weird talking to myself while I paint. This being my first video and all. You know, hopefully we'll see how it works out, and if this turns out okay and you guys enjoyed this. I know I'm going to be editing a lot of this. I mean, like cutting out some of my babbling and that sort of thing. Let's see. So I'm just trying to look into the light here to see where her boot is. It looks like it goes up to here. You know, the other thing about these translucent minis is it's really hard to see some of what we used to call flash lines. Where the molding of the midi actually needed trimming, so I might have to go back and trim if that's a flash line, which trim it and then repaint it. Oh, that looks really dark to me. Okay, let's just move that a little bit. It's really dark compared to this. Sometimes, you know, you paint and you don't notice the difference, and that's not a good thing. So I've got to either darken this up or lighten up the other one. And I got to get that so it's uniform. It's really blotchy there, but I think that'll be something that I will have to do later. Let's get a little paint on those, into those cracks and crevices. All right, let's see where we're at there. Now it looks like her boot comes up to here, and then it's tucked into, she's got pants on under these boots. Let's clean up this line here. Okay, get one more paint. Make sure you don't have too much paint on your brush. I'm very guilty of too much paint on my brush a lot. I don't know. Again, that's a patience thing. Yeah, I think I'm going to have to get the X-Acto knife and play with that line. I just don't like the way it is hanging there. Let's get some paint up here. And if we go back into here a little bit, we'll clean up this line. And it's looking a little blotchy, so we'll just keep working it. Smooth that out a little bit. Hopefully that'll get to a spot that I like anyway. It's hard to see how much of that is texture. How much of that is just my bad painting? All right, let's get a little bit more here. I'm certainly having to work this thing a lot, that's for sure. Although I'm not totally unhappy about the results. I mean, for a totally new thing that I'm doing, it's going to be interesting trying to clean up any lines that I go onto the pink. I'm not sure how I'll do that. You know, usually you can use washes to cover a lot of stuff, which is one thing I love about a wash. All right, does that go up into that? I'm going to say yes, it does. Just make myself an executive decision here. All right. And see how that looks. I like that. That looks more like it's boot than pants to me. See that line right there? That's what I'm talking about with the flash. I think I'm going to have to get rid of. I'm kind of liking this boot. I think it needs a couple more coats. But I can also give that a pretty heavy wash and see what happens with it. I think that'll clean up better with a wash than some of these areas. Just got to be careful with my washes, that's all. You know, I'm looking at some of these lines and they're not particularly clean. I don't know. I look at that, I'm not super happy with it. I'm hoping the wash will help out with that. All right, let's clean that brush. Give it a good clean. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to a little bit of pink since she's dry. And I just think some of these areas I'm going to just make a little pinker. Because yeah, you can see the brown through her dress. That's kind of, I think that's kind of cool. Although it doesn't quite work in that you can't tell what it is when you almost hit the brown there. Not quite awake. That's the important thing, is make sure you're awake when you're painting your minis. All right, yeah, you can see the brown. So I'm going to see if I can't hide that a little bit from the other side with a little pink. You know, the wash might take care of that too, who knows. All right, use this almost like a paint rather than like a glaze or a wash, and just kind of come in here. Get some of that moving. All right. There we go. Get a little bit of pink in between the boots. I'm wondering if I'm going to have to take like the X-Acto knife on some of these areas that where I went outside the lines, and see if I have to actually just kind of scrape that color out, because that could work too. I keep pulling the mini away from you guys. Can't see, don't look. All right, I don't want to go too heavy here, but I'm going to give it like a little bit of a wash and let that color sit a little bit, and then go over it with another brush and pick up some of that excess. And kind of let that get the emphasis of those. Get our bigger brush again. So I'll leave some of that color behind, but I don't want to leave too much in those recesses. Yeah. All right. Let's see how that works. That looks a little better. It's got a little pink flow to it. I still don't know if I like that brown there, but I don't know if there's a whole lot I can do at this point. I'm going to play with that, definitely. Gee, any place else that needs pink, as he said, taking this away from you guys again. Let's try giving her back another coat. Because again, since this is flat, it doesn't want to hold any of the paint as much. There, that works better doing it a second coat. We'll just keep working that a little bit and taking some of that excess off. I mean, normally I'd be looking at what I would be highlighting doing it that way, but I don't know if I'm going to be doing much highlighting on this miniature. Because again, it's translucent. And the more you put on it, the less translucent, transparent it is. And I just kind of want it to have a, if it has kind of an eerie, ghostly appearance, that would be good. I would enjoy that. So we'll see how that works. Alright, that's hair. That's, I don't like the way those boots look. I really, really don't. So I'm going to give them a little bit of work over with this brush. Get some of the darker lines out. Just kind of rub it a little bit. See if I can even it out a touch. So this brush here that I'm using isn't what I would call wet. It's a little damp. And I'm just hoping that what I can do is just even out the paint a little bit, if nothing else. That's going to need a little bit of paint on it. That little bit of brown on that top of that boot looks really too light for my liking. So I'm going to get a little brown, take most of it off, and see if I can just, I can get the lines. Maybe I'll just have to leave that and see what it looks like. Alright, let's just call that good for now. So she's got her boots, she's got that, so let's get the dark blue. I'd like her pants to be a dark blue. So instead, just a dark blue ink. And I might just try this straight up, because what the heck, I'm experimenting, right? My computer screen's gone dark, which kind of bugs me. Let me click and see if I can see where we're at. I'm going to turn this light out. So you can see, it probably just looks like smudges of color right now. The brown boots, they go up pretty high. So I got my blue here. It's a really dark, dark blue. It's a beautiful color. These are supposed to be brilliant shades, and they weren't lying. So I'll put that in here. So what I'm hoping is I can use a darker color for her pants and a lighter color of this for her skin. I could do that a couple different ways. I can try putting a little bit of, mixing a little water. Well, first of all, I'm going to mix water. Mix a little bit of white paint in there. I'm going to get a little bit more water in that ink, just so it doesn't dry out quite so fast. Alright, let's see what happens when I turn my light on and we try painting her pants. Alright, so let's see what happens here. Okay. That's covering a little bit. I kind of like the way it's covering. I kind of like the color too. Alright, partial blue. Let's get a little more blue in there. Alright. Make sure I always gotta take a little, dab a little bit of that blue off. Get some blue in these pants here. There's still just a little bit of pink right there that I need to cover. It's actually, this blue's not too bad. I might need a little bit more. This could have been a good dry palette one, or wet palette one, because it seems to be, since it's mostly ink, it's actually drying kind of fast. So, and I've used wet palette with inks before, and just got to wash out so they don't get too watery. All right. I would like a little bit more blue in there too, because I want this to be a dark blue, so I can contrast her face. I want a little blue in there. Oops, hit the dress. Let's get a little water on this. See if we can clean that up. There we go. We'll just keep that ready. Okay. Let's get some blue in here. It's drying out. Alright, let's get a little water in there. Nice thing is this is basically blue ink. It's not a mix. Those wet palettes are so nice when you're mixing. Okay, that looks like that's something that should be brown. Okay. So again, the color is kind of revealing this. So here's what I'm going to do is I'm going to dry that off. I'm going to get some brown. Take that off a little bit. And let's get those boots going. Oh, sounds like I got a dog dreaming over there. Okay, so that's not going to work. I think the first thing we need to do is get this in here and get some of that paint off there so I can cover with the brown better. All right, let's see if that'll work. Her boots are going higher and higher. Okay. That's fine. Oh, there's a little pocket that wants to hold some paint there. All kinds of little surprises when you can't see your mini. It's bad enough being old where you can't see. And then you got a mini that's invisible, which makes it even harder. Okay. Let's see. Let's get a little more paint and a little less water there. All right. Let's see what this does. Let's come up here. All right. And then I get impatient and I just keep putting more paint on the brush, and then eventually I screw it up. There, I got a little color in there, but it went up this way, which I don't want, and it went over this way, which I don't want, so we will fish that out, and we'll fish that out. All right, let me do that. Take a look at that boot. All right, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to stop and I'm going to try to get rid of, I don't know if you can see it here. There's a line that runs right here on the boot that I don't think is supposed to be here. So I'm going to get out the X-Acto knife and I'm going to cut that. But you guys don't need to watch that. That's even more boring. Okay, scraped away some of that paint. I'm going to get a little water so this isn't drying up too much and give me a two-tone brown, which I wouldn't like. And so I'm going to go over that, and that looks better. I don't see that line as much anymore, which I did not want to see in the first place. All right. I'll touch that up a little bit more. Wash that off. I just kind of nicked her dress a little bit. I'll clean that up. Okay, let's go back to some blue. Alrighty. Get that centered a little more. Hit. Everything's backwards. Okay. So I've got my blue. Just so you know, these things smell really bad. We'll get some of that brilliant blue. Slap that down there. Add just a touch of water. And hopefully we can get some blue on her leg and get that going. So make it look like pants. I don't know. Okay. I want my light because I'm blind. Okie dokie. Let's try this. There was a little bit of flash there too that I tried to get rid of. Ooh, that's really dark. Kind of dig it. Alright. The only thing I don't like is the fact that the blue is running down here. Alright. Let's see if we can make a clean line here somehow. We'll get a little blue there. Get some blue in there. Yeah, I'm digging that. Okay. So let's get some blue on these pants. Okay, this just doesn't seem to be taking quite as well. That's okay. Patience, 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 patience is something I don't have a lot of. So we'll keep trying here. Again, I might have to just take a touch of paint and go in. All right. I'm trying to get it so it looks a little lighter there, but we'll see what happens. Looks like we got another flash line there. Gosh darn it. Let me see if I can't get rid of that. Maybe this one I'll just keep the camera on. Alright, so you can see right there. I just want to break up the line. That was the thing when I started All your figurines are made of lead. Yum, yum. Don't eat lead, kids. All right. But it sure made cleaning up those lines really easy, I think. Some of you may disagree with me. Some of you guys that are as old as I am, or older. Because my oldest brother was the one that introduced me to Dungeons and Dragons. And my oldest brother is 18 years older than I am, so I was 12 and he was 30. There's a little bit of blue there that I'm trying to rub away. And sometimes it just doesn't want to work. I might be able, that's light enough where I can maybe, yep, there, it's starting to go away. Yay, victory for me. Okay. Do I still have blue on here? Yes, I do. Let's see if this will blue up for me. The pants. We'll see if we can get the pants painted. Okay. More ink. Oh, there we go. A little splash of color. Of course, that color being blue. All right. There, I can see that line, but now, instead of looking like a flash line, it looks more like some texture in the pants, which is better. Almost sounds a little wrong, but okay. There we go. We'll get that a little bluer, a little there. So okay. What am I thinking? I can see the blue through, which is kind of interesting. There's a little line up there that I think I'm going to have to take care of with this heavier brush. Oh, definitely. You know, it's always good. Sometimes I forget to do this, is you should always look at your model from multiple angles. And I don't know, I often get the feeling that I'm correcting mistakes that nobody's ever going to see. Nobody's ever going to look at my model upside down, under the boot to see, boy, did I put wear on the guy's shoe or whatever. But I know it's there. Here's the other thing that I need to do once in a while more often, and that's paint at different angles. So now when I hold her upside down and look, I can see some areas that I might not have gotten. All right. I need a little more water because my ink was getting a little dry. All right, let's see what happens. We just kind of plop some ink there, and I know I can see a little spot there that needs some. It looks pretty messy from what I'm used to. I'm wondering, I think maybe with the Banshee I'll just try really light paint or something. I don't know. This just seems not very accurate to me. All right. And it's coming through. I don't know why, but I didn't expect the paint on the underside to come through on her dress. Part of me thinks it's cool, and part of me is like, oh man, what did I do? What did I do? All right. If you could hear that, that was my other dog dreaming. Okay. Let's see. What do I want to do next? Do I want to try to finish off those boots? Like a little brown wash? Let's try a brown wash. Just straight up ink and see what happens. Live dangerously, right? I like a little water. Okay, let's go a little water in this ink. And a little more ink. More ink. Come on, ink. More ink. Let's not have too much on her. Let's just see what happens. Take the plunge. See if it'll cover that. I'm going to get just some straight ink. And do it that way. See what if that ruins this figurine. It ruins this figurine, right? trying to get a good line in there, and I just can't seem to. Oh well. It's a hobby, not a job, right? Actually, that boot looks way better. Let's get this side. Get that a little darker on that edge there. That's not half bad. I mean, if I were just regularly painting, I could go in and touch some of that up a little bit more. Let's just try this and see what happens. I just put a little more ink on my brush. Put a little more ink on my brush. And pray just a little bit. Not sure who the patron saint of mini painting is. Alright. Okay. And I want to see if I can get some of that ink out of these lines that seem a little too dark for me. Let's get my other brush for that. There we go. Okay. I can kind of live with that, I think. I don't know if it's finished. Let's clean some brushes. Look at the time. Why does it say 9 minutes on my computer? Because I know I've been doing this longer than 9 minutes. Let's get some blue. And just try some straight blue. So the first thing I want to do is make sure my brush is a little drier. I don't want that blue running all over the place and be too watery. Okay, straight blue. Okay. I want to clear that little line there. That seemed to work. All right, get it that. Let's see what we got here. I think I like the straight ink without water on this better. It does cover better. Oh, imagine that. No water, it covers better. That's a revelation and a half. Interesting. Interesting. All right, let's see. I'd like to get that line just out just a little bit. It's almost like I'm trying to blend it. Okay, I need a drier brush to get some of that blue before it escapes up into the pink too much. Kind of working my way in here. All right, there's a spot there. I'd like to get that spot out. Again, in case any of your weird friends look up the dress of the ghost, you don't want to have a blue spot right there. A little bit of water. Let's see if that helps. All right. There we go. Got it. There's a spot right there I'd like to get. And try pulling it this way and just hope I don't pull the ink onto the rest of the mini, but it doesn't seem to be happening. That seemed to work. I don't know, just not super happy with this. Now I know the guy that painted the gelatinous cube and wasn't happy with his paint job. I know how he feels. You know, that was the other thing. There weren't a lot of tutorials on how to paint these things. So this might be just another fail tutorial, like how not to paint these things. But you never know until you try, right? Unless you're... Well, I suppose you could learn by watching videos, but there's not a lot of them out there on this topic. Get that brown line out of there. I'm just going back over. Oh, there goes my brush. Trying to get a little definition. Let me get my brush. Let's try a little definition on the other one. Paint up this. You know, that might be the trick, is just actually paint some of the parts, let the other parts be translucent. I don't know. I might have to try that. Because then that color of the painted parts might show through enough to make it look ghostly. I mean, this isn't a character turning invisible, which would be just like maybe a straight wash. I want a ghost who has some color, who has some vestiges of her former life. I actually like just putting the paint on here a little better. I suppose this might just be because it's my comfort zone. I know a little bit on paint. I just paint it like a normal figurine and see what happens. That'd be kind of weird. If anybody's done that, you'll have to tell me how it turned out, if it looked cool or if it looked awful. Alright, I'm liking that. Now I'm looking at that blue going, there's some spots in that blue that need some change. We'll try getting those fixed and we'll see where we're at. No, not you, big brush. Get the little brush, get some water off of that. It's just like there's these spots in here. I want to turn blue. I want to turn them blue. All right. Can I get my brush in there without ruining everything? Well, let's get the paint in there and then we'll go back and clean it up a little. Clean it up afterwards. There's a spot right there that I want blue. Alright, now let's see if I can clean it up. Now that I've got blue where I want some blue, let's get the blue where I don't want the blue. Out of there. Out of there. Oop, this is a little wet. There's like little dots of blue. I'm going to just run them down this way and clean them up that way. I've seen if I could run it back into the blue, but that wasn't working. There, that seemed to have gotten some of that out. Let's see if I can get this out. Maybe it needs a little water. Maybe it needs some water. Famous last words. Is everything will turn blue now? Oh, where did you come from? Oh, I just got this big blue dot right there. There. That dot is gone. Okay. I think maybe I'll just take a little blue paint and try to touch some of that stuff up. I am going to go back to my pink just to see if I can't get some of that blue out of there. And see if the pink will cover for me. Oh yeah, you can really see the blue pants under. That's a double whammy right there. It's the blue pants and the fact that that blue ink went a little further than I wanted it to. So we'll let that set for a little bit. And then just kind of dab that away. You know, maybe a pink wash is what it's gonna take. Or if we do the red wash, that might be enough to cover some of that. Let's get this out of there. There's another one of those blue dots. There we go. Let's smooth that out. Go a little more pink in the back here. Oh, it's almost like it's got holes where some of that paint's coming through. Let's dry this brush off and then kind of even her out just a little bit. All right. I think if that red wash works, I might be okay. There's a little definition in the boots and the pants. Get some lines there. Maybe a red wash will be a good thing for that. I could do her face and her hands and then the red wash and see what happens. All right, I think I'm going to take a little bit of a break here. See if my computer will turn back on for me. All right, my break is over, and so here's what I'm going to try to do. I think at this point, I'm going to try to do her hair, and I'm going to try to do it in this kind of a redder brown. I like doing the blue without water, so okay, pray for me. I'm going to try doing this without water. All right, just ink it and see what happens. Again, great experiment, right? Okay. So now the big trick is, again, finding where her hair is. All right, I think this is hair. And it comes down this way. So we'll try to see if those grooves will help me find where her hair is and where it stops. Looks like it stops in there, so I'll be kind of careful. Looks like it stops right there, so again, I'll be careful. Flip this around. That's definitely hair. Careful on the edge there. Alright, so there's her arm. I think if I can just get it colored, and then what I can start doing is just give it a couple coats until I'm happy with it. Alright, let's see, try not to let it pool up anywhere. Like that spot there. Alright, so that looks like hair. I like the kind of reddish brown, looks nice. Alright, let's get a little bit more ink and I'll just dab a little off. Try to see where her hair is. Maybe we could start with the top of her head. It's so hard to see. I hope it's got some texture in her hair here. Alright. Because that texture picks up that ink as it pools and you can kind of see a little bit. It's almost like one of those science experiments. Okay. Let's see, how are we doing here? Oh, come on, you couldn't have given me a little hair groove right there? That would have been nice. Let's try to see if there's some grain to go against. There we go. looks like it ends right about there. Looks like that's about the end of her hair, right? About there. Oh, pooling a little bit. Yeah, sometimes these inks will do that. You'll paint and then they just start... Darn gravity just makes it flow down, right? Okay, I'm thinking that's... Is that hair or is that face? She's got her hand wrapped around her face. So I'm just trying to pick out where I can see a little bit of a line and just try to get a little bit of ink on it so I can see it, and then try not to let that ink pool too heavily. Yeah, I got a big dog hairball on my hand. It's always great to paint figurines and have wads of hair and dust and junk everywhere, right? But again, this is not a paint studio. This is set up in a corner of the dining room. You know, I could have set this up in another room, which would probably have been the smart thing to do. But I don't want to seclude myself necessarily from my family when I'm painting. Because, you know, I can talk and paint at the same time, and then I don't feel so guilty about spending time on my hobby if I'm in the midst of things and things are going on and I can take a break and interact with human beings. Okay. So, which is why I decided to put my pseudo studio here. Okay. Those look like little eyes, don't they, right there? So we'll just keep going around. Doing the hair. So it looks like hair. Get that little line in there. Tuck that back just a hair. Ooh, bad. All right, let's see what we got here. Give it a little bit more. See if we can get some. Yep, it's got to come down there just that little bit. So if I can get a little continuity with some of these lines, I think it'll look better. And by continuity, I just mean that the fillage, how the ink is, I don't know if that's a word, but how the ink is filling some of these lines, the texture in her hair. I don't want it to be gloppy. I want it to be a little bit more uniform. That might be too much ink. So we'll see. Let's get a little ink in this spot here. It just looks like it needs more there. It needs more there. Right there is where I'm thinking she needs a little more. Yep. Stay in there. Right there. And she's got a little spot right here that I don't like. I don't like that spot. There. So, okay. It just doesn't want to color that area. And it's an area that I want colored. So I just keep throwing some ink on there, praying it'll stay. And it just doesn't seem to be staying much, does it? It's fighting me hard. I might have to come back to that. But I think if I can get that spot there under her face, I think it won't look half bad. Oop, that spot needs some. Yeah, I like the color. That kind of reddish. I think if I do the banshee like this at all, that might be a good banshee color. I don't know. What do you guys think? I mean, before 5th edition, if you look at tradition, they are Irish, and there are a few red-headed Irish. Although my wife, who was raised in Ireland, grew up in Ireland, has had dark hair. Of course, now it's kind of a beautiful, beautiful gray, white, which I really do like. All right, come on there. I like that. There's just a couple of these spots that don't seem to want to take any paint, any ink. And I think what I might have to do is be patient. And let that dry and come back to it. All right, so I'm going to close this up and darken it down. Then I'm going to just kind of clean up my edges a little bit. There's not too much pooling down there. All right, that's not bad. Like that spot's going to need more, and I think the top of her head's going to need more. And so I was kind of thinking like a light blue for the face rather than like a gray or a green or something like that. Just kind of a nice light blue, you know. So I don't know what I'm going to do for a light blue necessarily. I was thinking maybe a little white paint with a little blue ink and see what that would do. So we got the white paint. I love these because sometimes when you shake them up and you open them, they poof, you get this big explosion of paint. Not really what I want. And that's something I'll show you guys too, is I've got paints going all the way back to the 80s, some of which didn't dry out. Isn't that a miraculous thing? All right, so I'm just going to roll some paint on there because I don't know how much white I need. And I got this beautiful, beautiful, brilliant blue. There's a really nice purple too. The one color that I don't like in these inks was the green. It's just a little too teal. I'd like just like a more of a normal green would have been so much nicer in my opinion. All right, I'm going to use my bigger brush to get the blue ink. There's some blue ink and some white paint. Let's get more ink. There's more ink. We'll get that white paint down in there. Get it mixed. It's kind of a, well, it's not sky blue. That's a pretty deep blue. And I went pretty far up into my brush there, didn't I? That's a lot of paint. Let's see if I put, yeah, I think I'm going to need a little bit more white on there because I'm a little worried that it'll be too dark. Although I'm not totally adverse to just straight up painting her face. Here, I'll do this trick since I'm cheap. I'm just going to paint the white paint off of my bottle. I don't even know if it's on screen. I'm going to have to play with my computer because it keeps sleeping the screen, so I don't know what you guys are seeing. Kind of the blind leading the blind at this point. All right. No offense to anybody, I hope. Okie dokie. Meaning I cannot see the screen, and you guys might not be able to see the screen. Ooh, like I like that blue better. Take a look at that. Yep, that's a definite different shade. Let's get a little water in there. And I'm going to clean this brush really well because I got the darn paint all the way up to the bristles, which is not a good thing. All the way up to the collar. All right. Okay, moment of truth. Shall we try a hand first? Let's try a hand. Get a little water on my brush. Pick up a little paint. Well, I'm using all these fancy painting terms like pick up paint and yada yada yada. All right. Let's see if these are your. Is that your hand here? Yes, that is. What if we just give you a little hand wash? Gonna wash your hand. Oh, hey, my phone's buzzing. Anything important? No, not really. Okay. I like the color. It seems maybe a little thick, but that's okay. Her hands and her face are out, kind of outside of her body, so if they're not quite as translucent, that's all right. I like that. I like that a lot. All right. Okay, so let's get a little more paint. Let's try hand. Oh, hand number 2 is wrapped around her face. All right, let's try to. Oh man, she's got this neck stub, and I'm not sure if I want to paint that red, because that might just not turn out nice. And you know, she's probably never seen, well, maybe her head's in, I was gonna say she hasn't seen the where her head used to be attached, because you know she's dead, but since her head's in her hand, she could definitely pick it up and take a look, couldn't she? So that's not true. Let's make ourselves, I don't think there's a definite line for her dress, so we'll just kind of paint that down a little bit. All right. Wow, this is almost, it's a lot more like painting with paints, because this is actually more of a paint. All right. So let's touch this up a little. And get that little blue going down here. Oh, did I touch some hair here? Looks like I might have. Oh, let's see if I can get that off there. Let's see. I'm a popular guy. All right. Let's get back right into here. I'd like to see that cling just a little better to the figurine. Come on, paint. Alrighty. We'll take care of that line. Just kind of gently go down until we straighten it. Again, I'm going to have to come back for that, I think. I like the blue. I don't think I'm going to go red there. I think that'd just be kind of creepy. I think the blue stump is kind of creepy looking too. Ooh, blue stump. All right. There's a spot right here that just doesn't want to be blue. And I think that I'm going to have to come back to right there. Okay. So now we are at her face. And I don't want this super thick, so I'm going to get a little more water in here. Not a lot, and then we'll just kind of take this down. Then we'll go nice and easy and pray hard. Let's see, that looks like hand. Actually, I could probably paint the hand. The hand should be easier. If I can see where it is. That's hand here. That's hand. Okay. So far, we can see some hand. That looks like wrist. Yeah, this definitely looks like it's going to be, get kind of a base coat on it. I can see some fingers. That's good. Get that kind of base coat on it. And then touch up a couple more spots. And then have to give it a wash, and that hopefully will bring out the differentiation in her fingers and some of the features in her face. Now, that's the only problem with her holding her own face is, you know, they're both the same color. I don't think I could get away with blue hands and a green face. You know, had she been strangled, maybe I could have gotten away with a blue face. But I would say cause of death was not strangulation unless the decapitation was post-mortem. I don't know, do you got any D&D monsters that like to take the heads off of their victims? Alright, that looks like hand. That looks like a finger or something. I'm having a hard time seeing over here. So I'll pray a little and paint a little and pray a little and paint a little. That looks like hair there. I just painted her hair blue. little too modern for this. Actually, here's the forehead. Like that. The face is taking some shape here. I got the hold my breath. It's kind of cool how the face just seems to appear as you apply paint. It's kind of like the invisible woman. Oh, I like that. Let's get that cheek, needs a little color. Okay, and then let's look at the underside. Remember, talked about looking at different angles. Is that head? Is that hair? Is that... We're going to make that hand. I need a little bit of paint on the brush. And then we'll see if we can get that covered. Oh, that does look kind of creepy. I like it. Get a little paint in that one spot there. All right, let's come up here a little bit again. Looks like I touched the edge of her hair. Let's try the bigger brush. It looked like a finger for a second, which is why I did that. Okay, let's try this. There we go. That seemed to have worked. I don't know how well you guys can see her face, but I think it's kind of awesome. And I think if I give it like a darker blue wash, it's going to be even better. Let's get her hand a little more so it's the same shade. Shade Ghost. Funny stuff. Alright. Well, I'm a dad. I get dad jokes. It's kind of my prerogative. Is she wearing a necklace? Or a choker or something? Kind of looked like there was a line there. Now it's hard to tell. Let's get that one spot that I was talking about before. That's actually not half bad. I think we come back to the hair. We'll do a wash on that face with some darker blue ink, but a really watered down wash because I don't want to change the hue of it too much. But, oh, she looks so sad. I suppose she would be. All right, what do we do first? What do we do first? I want to get a little pink on those shoulders. Come on, pink. And then we'll kind of brush that off a little. A little more pink. It's almost like it needs a pink highlight. Because these darker colors keep showing through the lighter dress. But I'll just move that around a little bit. Try to get that a little less chalky looking. I think the wash might take care of that for me. Washes are magical. Okay. The other thing that's magical is a high gloss finish if you want to do that. That can hide a lot of mistakes. But if you ever want to take pictures of your minis, it makes it a lot harder. So one thing I should do at this point is, I don't know, if you're kind of like me, you've spent so much time on your last set of minis that you almost don't want to put them away. So this was my last set of minis. If you're talking, you know, throwbacks, these miniatures are, 1989, I think. I'll have to get some decent pictures of them. Let's see, right now, I'm trying to get my screen to come back. There's my screen. All right, so we'll put these guys away. Okay, come over here for now. All right, so I'm kind of looking. Here's another thing that I have found when you're looking at your own minis and you're not happy with it. See, I paint with a pair of glasses that have a higher magnification on them than what I normally wear. And so it looks a little bit different when I'm painting it than when it's finished. This mini is not finished. However, it's sometimes when you're not happy, it's a good idea to just stop, walk away, and go do something else for a while. All right, so I think where we're at right now is we will be doing a couple of washes on her and see if that smooths some of the stuff out and if it brings out some detail. I'm very tempted to color that sash. Maybe purple would be nice. Could do a purple on that. But I'll definitely video that. So I'm going to take another break now. All right. All right, so I took my own advice. As you can tell, everything's a little more cleaned up and walked away, and it is now day 2. And I'm looking at it, and there's some things here that I like and that I don't like. And so what I'm going to do is see if I can create the lines with an X-Acto knife. So, and what I mean by lines is some of that separation. I don't know if you can see or not, but some of the blue here on her neck has bled onto her dress. And I'm hoping that if I just gently scrape that and just gently rub, I can take away the blue. And by gosh and by golly, that kind of worked. All right, so in looking at her, I need my battle plan here. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to start out with hitting, there's a spot here on her hair and a spot right here on her hair where it didn't really take very well. So I'm going to see if I can't touch that up and give it a little bit of color. So here's that kind of reddish brown ink. I'm going to grab a fairly small brush. So, all right. And I'll put the water on that brush and get a little bit of ink and see what I got. All right. So let's give it a shot and see if fortune shines upon us. So there's the spot. And just, oh, that looks lots better. Okay, so I'm liking that. So I'm going to look under here. Here's that other spot. Let's get a little bit more ink there, just a touch. Okay, and so this doesn't seem to be covering quite as well. I think the other spot had some more grooves in it, but that is a little bit heartening. Maybe I can come back to that. And I'm looking here. I think I accidentally painted some of her hair blue. And it's sometimes it's just hard to tell because the way that she's translucent, those darker colors will shine through. And it's hard to tell if I've gone over the line or if that's just the blue showing through. I think either way, a little bit more ink on that should kind of help a little. And if that looks too blue to me after I do the wash, I might have to do my scraping technique there. Ooh, there, touch that up. I like that. I like that a lot better. And then I'm going to get into here a little bit more. There's a little pink on her hair. She's not quite that 20th, 21st century. Look back at these spots that I've done. Suck up a little bit of that ink. Make that line a little straighter. Go in here again. Yeah, I think what's happening is that those are pretty flat areas and that ink is just kind of washing off, but I like that a lot better. Now here's my other thought. I'm looking at her boots and it's kind of hard to see any distinct lines, so I might cheat. Da-da-da. My youngest daughter, who sometimes serves as my artistic consultant, actually said that maybe this is a little bit too opaque. And I can kind of see that. So what I'm going to do is I might cheat and just use a little actual paint with a little water in it again. And see if I can just paint my lines that way. You know, instead of highlighting. So I've got a little brown paint on here, and I'm going to try to get a nice clean line on this boot edge. And it actually seems to be kind of working. There's a little edge here. Because I suppose, you know, really when you think about it, it's not like anybody's going to look and say, "Oop, that spot's not translucent." And so if there's a couple spots that are a little less translucent because they have a little actual opaque paint on them, but it clears up the lines, I think that's a trade-off that I'm willing to make. And actually, I think that looks way better. I just got to make sure that I get all the blue. Get a nice clean line there. Clean line there. Then there's a little flash line down here that I had a hard time with, and I'm going to just put a little bit of paint on there. Some of those trouble spots. There we go. I don't know, maybe if I do that Banshee instead of being so washy and glazy, he said, making up more words, I'll just put some regular paint on it and see what happens. I'm not planning on using a Banshee in my campaign, and I'm saying that definitely to throw my kids off in case they watch this tape, because I often paint the monsters that I need. So there we go. I like those boots better already. Like them a lot better already. There's still some blue right there though that I don't like. And a little bit of blue right there. Just get that little spot. Yeah, I'm a little bit of a perfectionist, and I probably could do this kind of touch painting for hours. And I often do. But I just want to get that little bit there so there's a clear definition between what is boot and what is pants. There, good. All right, and while I was flipping this around, I thought I noticed a spot. Yep, there it is. A spot on the neck here that had a little bit of blue paint, and I'm going to try to scrape that off. Get that right in there. Kind of feel like a dentist or something. A little scrape in here, a little scrape in there. That's pretty good. Oops. Drop my mini. All right. So let's look at that hairline. How did I do that? There's a brown spot there. Let's see. Oh, that's interesting. I accidentally scraped the paint off, and it was just looking the color of her hair because her hair is under that. Oh, that's creepy. All right. I guess we'll have to live with that. Okay. Is that hair? Or is that face? That looks like it's hair. Okay. So we might have some lines here that we might have to, but her hair wouldn't be in a smooth line around the body. So we'll just leave that for now. All right. So what do we need to do? I think we want to put a blue wash on the pants. I think we want maybe a slightly darker brown wash on her boots. Let's start doing some washes. All right. So I've got a darker brown ink, I do believe. Let's see. Got this dark brown, got this black ink, and I think, oh, you know what I could do? Let's go 21st century here. With a little bit of Nuln oil. Alrighty. And we'll get a thin brush, and so what we're gonna do is maybe not a true wash, but more kind of like, let's paint some of these cracks and crevices and get them a little bit darker and see what happens, just to give them a little bit of texture. Alright, let's open that up. And let's see if we can get a little bit of definition on her boots. Just a little bit. Because being a ghost, I don't think she's going to have a lot of stark lines. But, you know, you got the sculptor that spent so much time giving her boots this nice texture. And I don't want to be the painter that just doesn't do anything with it. You know, you want your mini to work with you. And so when it has some of these things that are cool, like those lines, you might as well use them. All right, let's see. Do we have a little bit too much wash in some of these spots? Maybe. So we will brush a little bit of that away. I want to get a little bit more on the side here. Fill in those grooves. Get a little harder to see there. All right, I like that. I like that better. All right, so I'm pretty happy with those boots, the way they're looking at that point. What can we do with their pants? You know, being a ghost, let's see. If I took a little bit, just a little bit of light blue, and we'll glaze just a little white. See if we can just lighten it up just a touch on the tops of her boots. And so what I'll do is I want to give it some of that real shade. I don't want it to be a totally different blue. So I'm going to use a little bit of the blue ink. And that ought to lighten that up. And I want just a little bit, and just a little bit on the top. Just so there's a little bit of color differentiation. It's all I want. There. It's a little shading on my shade. Okay. And then what I'm going to do to help blend it just a little bit is just kind of dab some of that off. So it's not quite so pronounced. There. Okay. Then I can go back and I can do a little blue wash on that if I want to. Get into some of those lines that might be a little too brown. Why do we do that right now? I'll get a little bit of blue ink. And I think what we'll do is just do a straight ink on this and see what happens. I think there's a little bit of brown that I want to cover, and I'll let that ink cover that. There's a little spot right there that I wanted. And let's see, how's that other knee look? I've reduced my light just a little bit so that you can see better, hopefully. However, that means I can't quite see better. Ooh, I see a couple spots in there that I could definitely go at with my X-Acto knife. Probably not the most exciting thing for you guys to watch, but if you were looking for excitement, you wouldn't be watching this on YouTube, I'll tell you that. I'm chuckling because my youngest daughter's chuckling also because she knows the truth, because she's probably watching something else on YouTube and dropping stuff. All right. Okay. So I think I'm pretty happy with that. I think what we'll do now is let's go back to the face and the hand where I got that oops. And we will see if I can't repair that. Now here's the one problem. When I used to paint, I used to just have a my palette was an ice cream pail cover. And the beautiful thing about ice cream pail cover is I could always go back and perfectly match my colors because they were always on my ice cream pail. So I could just mix the new batch of paint. So I probably should have used the wet palette. Okay, but I'll put a little bit of blue in with here and take a look. It looks pretty darn close. And since we're going to put a wash over that, yeah, it's a little lighter. Let's get a little more dark blue in there. Let's try that. And I'd rather go a little bit too light than a little bit too dark at this point. Okay, so I'll do that. And that one spot right on her hand. Yep. That's a little too light. Okay, so easy peasy. We'll just get a little darker blue. And we'll just touch that with the darker blue. And lo and behold, that pretty much does it. All right, so if we take that lighter blue, oh, what if I had this really crazy idea of doing some highlights on a ghost face? All right, so if I were going to do some highlights, the hand, just kind of around there. I would probably highlight the nose. Ooh, I don't like that too much. That hit a little too hard. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to paint my highlights. And then I'm going to kind of take them off a little bit. So, at the top of the hand here, that's just getting sloppy. I'm just getting sloppy there. Maybe the top of the neck. Clean that. So, all right, we'll get another brush. And we'll just kind of do that a little bit. That kind of blend it in, give a little differentiation. So you got a little bit of highlight, but it's not quite such a stark contrast. Let's get that hand. And actually, what would have been really nice there would have been maybe just doing some dots. That's not bad. I'll have to see what it looks like when it dries. I do see a spot where I think I got some hair color where I should have some face color. Let's take a look here. Take a look here. So, looking around. Yeah, right there. There's a spot of pink. Oh yeah, that was our highlight. No, we didn't want that. There. All right, so that's a spot that I painted over, and I think I'm right this time. I think it's actually skin. I don't think that is hair. Okay, so the forehead. There's a little red coming through, a little red on that hand. Okay, get the neck a little bit here. I think what we'll do now is we will let that dry, and then we'll be able to give it a little wash. All right, so that brings us back to the pink dress. So I'm kind of looking, going, I've got this bright red. So what if I do a wash with the red, mixed with a little white, so it's pink. Let's see what happens. So again, we've got that wonderful, let's have paint spill all over on our dropper, which, what a waste of paint. You know, you get these eyedropper bottles, and I don't know if there's pressure changes. Maybe last time I painted it was really cold. And now it's really hot, so the air all expanded. Who knows? All right, clean that brush. Got that red, we'll give it a little shake. I don't know if these need to be mixed at all, but we mixed it. Yeah, it's like opening the Tutankhamun's tomb here. Let's get a fair amount of red so we don't have to go back to the pot. Alright. And so we'll mix that, and that should make a pink. I want a darker pink, actually. If I look at her, I want more of a red, and I might put some brown in her too, just to give it some darker shades if I wanted. That's kind of what I'm looking at doing. Let's get some ink, and we'll put it on the edges here. So, ooh, wouldn't that be good? I just spill red ink all over my whole station. All right. Let's see how that looks. Okay, so I'm going to try and mix this in. That's definitely a shade darker than what I've got. And so now I'm going to get some water in it, because I do want this to be more of a wash rather than just paint. So I'll get this nice and thin, kind of like a glaze consistency. Put a little bit on my paper, see how thin it is. Again, it looks like darker Pepto-Bismol. Yum, yum, yum. Alright, so I'm going to get a thicker brush, make sure it's dry in case I need to get some paint off. And again, we'll go to the tail end here and see what it does. This is kind of weird. I don't know if I like this or not. Let's do the underside. We'll do the underside and then wipe off that top side a little bit with a few brush strokes and see what it looks like. I mean, that's a little bit too much, I think. But I don't want to take all of it out. See if it leaves a little color there. Yeah, it leaves a little color. Take a little bit more out. Alright. We'll go for it. Okay, so let's start here. And so, you know, we're almost using this to, it's almost like staining. You know, you put a bunch on and let it set a little bit and take some off, and it kind of works. Oh, I was going to do that sash, wasn't I? I remember in that last video I was talking about painting that sash a different color. I still have to do that. It's going to get on the headstone, but I don't care. I'm not going to probably put the basing for this figurine on this video, but definitely when I won't put this video up until I'm done with the basing and the whole model is finished, so you can see the whole thing. And then, you know, we'll see what kind of an effect we want for our base. I'm going to be a little bit more careful as I get around there. And put some on this tail end again, because that part's just not taking a lot of color. And I want it to take, that part to take a little bit of color. Alright, I'm going to clean that. Let's get the dry brush again and take some of this out. Maybe I'll just go against the grain so I'm not picking it up out of the folds. Well, how about that? Using science, physics, and everything. Okay. This is, you know, only a learning experience if I actually learn from what I'm doing. Otherwise, it's just an experience, right? So we'll see. Okay, so I'm going to pick out some of this. Keep going. I want to get some of those areas that are just a little bit too bright for me. Pick out some of that. Okay. I think that does look better. It's giving her more color. Let's get this side of the dress a little bit more. Look at the front here. We just got to be kind of careful. I don't want it to go over that, over her hem. I mean, if this were a regular figurine, I probably would have painted that hem a different color, because that would look nice. But, being that it's a ghost, and I wanted some translucence here, now I'm just going to try to be really careful. I'm going to grab my glaze from the sides and see if that's a little bit drier. Maybe a little thicker. It'll coat a little better, because I've got some areas in here that I think got a little bit of blue in them that shouldn't have. All right. And I can kind of paint it up that edge. That kind of worked. All right, let's see. Let's try this just nice and easy. Remember, I'm an impatient guy, and this is not where I want to be impatient. All right, that thumping you hear is the tail of a lab. My daughter's trying to feed her spaghetti, probably not cooked because she's... Oh, it is cooked? Okay. So, if you don't have any labs, I feel sorry for you. You don't know what you're missing. They're great dogs. Of course, there's a lot of great dogs. But labs are near and dear my heart. I like all dogs, but I like a dog that actually has a little weight to it. Doesn't have to be a huge dog. My labs are small. Maybe 60 pounds. Kind of pocket labs. Maybe I'll put some, if I get people watching and you guys want to see some dog videos, I can put up some dog videos. The younger dog is a drooler. Incredible drooler. Wettest dog I've ever owned. Alright. And I love her, but the other dog is the best dog I've ever owned. So my younger dog's got a lot to live up to. Alrighty. I'm kind of digging this a little bit. I'd like to get that a little more even. So, get this a little more even down here. I'm going to follow some of the folds and just get a little bit more color on some of these folds here. It just kind of throws me that you can see the colors that are under there. And I don't know. In a way it looks cool, and in a way it just kind of looks sloppy. I don't know. Okay, so we'll get some of that color out. That was a little too strong. I'll have to see what she looks like when that's dry. Let's move up a little higher on her. Let's see what we've got here up on the shoulders. Okay, so I think I need a little bit drier paint again, a little thicker. That's probably what I really mean. So it will hold a little better, and then I'll just kind of push this down. I think I got a little bit too much, so I'm going to take a little off the brush. Keep pushing that color over and just hope some of it stays nicely. And we'll gently come up this way. Again, be patient, be patient. Alright, talking to myself. Okay, so we'll get the shoulders. Trying to get a good angle here. And I want a nice, try to get it even, so, you know, when it doesn't dry even, when the paint doesn't dry even, it looks kind of like chalk. And this would look like those Pepto-Bismol pills that you get when you're feeling nauseous. Because it's almost that color. I think we were exactly that color the first time around on her dress, and we're a little darker now, so I don't know if that's good or bad. But it is what it is. I want a little more pink there. Just a little more pink there. Didn't dry off my brush that great, but that's okay. Let's dry that off now. We'll get some of these. We don't want to pull in there. We don't want to pull in there. I am now talking with a brush in my mouth. That's okay. Get that. And I still think she might just need a straight up wash, but I think that I'm afraid that would make her too dark. You know, I might have to do it just to see what it does. It's generally not my motto, but we'll see. Okay, let's try to get this arm. Get that a little pinker. Get this out of her hair. We'll come over here. I mean, this might be another one of those cases where actually just straight up painting it instead of trying to use this thinned out paint. There's a little coverage. Okay, we got some coverage. Now let's get up here. Up here where we've got this convergence of the blue and her hair. Let's see what we can do. All right, let's get to the front here. She's got these stitches in her dress. Yeah, you can see that the paint did not hold great on this side. It's very translucent. Let's see, fight with the camera a little bit there. I smack my audience in the face with my brush. All right. See if I can get in here and just get a little more paint to stay on that, just a little bit. Or maybe what I have to do is what I did before, which is make this more paint and less opaque. So we'll cheat, we'll put a little paint there. We'll give it a little mix. That looks pretty good. Take that off, and then we'll just kind of see if that covers any better. Yeah, that doesn't seem to cover great. Oh, that's not bad. Some of these lines here that I wanted to get. I could almost dry. Oh, yeah. What if I did like almost a dry brush or a highlight in the color and just let the rest of the color kind of take. I think what I can do is some of these problem areas, like I did with her boots, if I can just get a paint on the edges, that might be what I want. Oh, I think I like that effect. Yeah. I maybe learned something. Oh my gosh. So a combination of like washes and glazes and then basically opaque paints to kind of hit some of these more lighted areas. He said, stopping in mid-sentence, mid-word actually. All right, let's do that. And this arm that was giving me a problem before. Let's make that a little bit pinker. And so what will happen then maybe is that color will actually, I'll use the color bleed to my advantage. All right, gonna get a little water on that brush. Gonna pick up a little bit more of that pink paint and just get a little color here. Just a little color there. And use that paint to kind of cover that and discover that there's another flash line there, but I think I might just try to hide that a little. I don't know if I can. Because this is, what I'm going to have to do is just color this line here with pink. So that I've got a clear separation on the edge of her skirt. I just like having my edges clear. I don't know why that is. I do that in a lot of my figurines, as I've got kind of clear highlighted highlight edges. Let's see, there we go. Get a little more pink up in this area. So it looks a little more there. That just across the top of her shoulders are starting to bug me. gonna run that, make sure it's dry, and then I'm just going to dab some pink paint in there so it's even. Get that spot. Get that spot. Yeah. I think it's ironic. I think this would work better if I primed it, but then that would take care of any translucence that we have. And she still is kind of translucent. And a bit ghostly. Alright. I don't know, I'm kind of debating the red wash. What do you think, Maeve? Red wash?
Better.
Well, if I give it a red wash and darken it.
I don't know how it would turn out.
I'm going to put a little red just on this
This is where it looks.
tail end and see what happens. Well, the red would make her a darker pink.
Would it?
If you look at that edge.
Oh, I see.
Would that be okay, you think? What do you think?
Huh?
What do you think?
Good.
Yeah, you only live once. Let's give it a red wash.
Well, she technically lives twice.
Yeah, it's true. You only live once, unless you're a ghost, in which case you're still, well, undead. Let's do the wash. All right, let's see what happens with a wash. We'll do the same kind of wash that we did before, as in that we'll just kind of hit the whole surface and then kind of wipe it off with a brush. And see what we got. That gives it a little bit more definition. Let's see what it looks like here. It's very bloody looking red.
Nice.
So, okay, we'll come all the way up to the belt there. Make this a wash to make sure it gets into all those little grooves. There we go. Got to make sure that when I do this, that the color stays pretty uniform. That's the problem with doing something like this. When you do that wash, if you don't keep your mix the same, you can end up with a darker part and a lighter part, and that's not what you want. You want it all kind of the same color. All right. I don't know if I like the red wash or not, but I already did it. I'm committed. All right, it's kind of funny because I'm using, this is my brush that I'm using to take off the excess, but I'm also using it to cover, since it's got some of the red in it, I can use it to hit some areas that seem to need a little bit more red. All right. Let's get that one clean so I can use that. We'll get some more red wash here. Some red ink. All right. Okay, so what I want to do here now is just kind of tone that down just a little bit and get a little bit of a wash in here. But just kind of be careful where it goes. You know, I like that. Keep it a little darker on the inside of the skirt because that would make sense. Although I don't know how physics work with ghosts as far as shadows and light, being that she's a ghost and all. Let's see it right by the boot. I don't want to hit the boot hard. There we go. I think I got that good. There's a blue spot right here. If I can get that out without... That actually look better. Okay. Let's get a little bit on this side. So we need to get right in here. Oh, puppies. I don't know if that's... Oh, yeah, there we go. Thank you. Hush. That's my butthead dog. She's harmless. She sounds like a killer, though. Sounds like a killer.
She's so vicious.
Yeah. But I could put in a plug for my daughter's channel.
I don't have dog videos.
No, but you have animations.
Yeah, but I haven't done anything for a while.
Yeah. Nothing but statistics.
Oh! Raven just kicked a bone out of her bed.
Yep. Oh yeah, my dog's names are Rook and Raven. So, not named after the store, the Rook and the Raven, but if they want to become sponsors for my dogs, I would definitely take it. Okay. And they're good dogs to sponsor. They're very well behaved, generally speaking. They're cute. I can vouch for that. Alright, so we're going to put a little bit more on the front here. We're going to take that off. We'll try to cover this whole thing so it's still uniformly colored. They're kind of ghostly looking. That's not bad. I kind of like that. I kind of like that, he said, speaking barely intelligible English. All right, we'll get a little more water on our red ink. We're going to have to be a little more careful as we go upstairs here, so to speak. As we come into this area with our wash. She's got these stitches here in her blouse that would be really fun to highlight, but I don't know. I could maybe just paint them a different color. That's a possibility. All right, I think I got too much water in this wash. All right, so here's what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some water on my brush, and then just put that brush into the ink so it's a thicker consistency. And then try, oh, we got a dot of something. There we go. Let's see, let's do that. We've got a lot on our brush now, so let's see how that works. Get in here, get over there. Let gravity work for us a little bit here. And then gently, 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 gently kind of come up that way. All right. Let's get the arm. And on the inside of the arm. All right, get around that. Get that spot. And I think we're ready to kind of brush some of this off. So it's not fooling quite so much. Hello, totally different brush. All right, with that lab hair on it. Okay. One thing that's not so great about the dogs, but it's pretty minor. I know it's not one of my hairs. Because being a rad old dad, I ain't got none. All right. So, okay, so we're reddening this up a little bit. Color seems to be holding. I like that. Let's get that spot right there around the neck. Very carefully. Let's come in here around the head. Almost like real painting. Get the underside of the arm. And I think we're ready to brush some of this off. Get rid of some of that pooling. It's kind of blotchy, but I don't know. Maybe ghosts are blotchy. Can I smooth some of that out? I can try, but it's not really working. I might just have to learn to live with that. Alright, let's get some of that off of there, because otherwise that's too red. I kind of like that color better than the original pink. Alright. Okay. I think I would like to try to do those stitches. And we'll do them in a brown. We'll think that, you know, it might be a leather stitching or something along those lines. So we'll get a little bit of brown paint, a little bit of water in there. I think I want a finer brush than this though. So let's take a look and see what we have. Eeny, meeny, miny. You're not finey. All right, let's try it again. Oh yeah, this is like the quadruple aught. That might be too fine. Okay, let's just take a look and see what we have. This one. Yum. The taste of paintbrush. Okay. Get a little bit of paint on there. All I'm going to try to do, first of all, I want to get that red out of there. Is just hit those stitches. I don't think I can actually. I need a brighter color. Decisions, decisions, decisions. Not sure. Not sure if I want to do that or not, because it could work or it could be awful. If I did it, I have to go with a lighter brown. Let's see. Got a Vermin brown. Would that work? I love this Vermin brown. It's the color that I've used for leather a lot. It's got a little bit of red to it. So let's see if there's a stitch. There and there and there. All right, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave that for now. It's not good enough, but what I'm going to do is come back to that. I'm going to make sure that it's good and dry, and I might just kind of leave that as is. Leave it as is. All right, did my red move into the area there? I can't tell. The one bad thing about making her dress darker is now her hair doesn't stand out as much. So what I might do is I kind of like that color. I could give it a wash in a darker one that maybe just set it off a little bit. Because I kind of like the reddish tint that it had. So what if I... Oh, that's cool. I was just looking the way the light was hitting the stitching. I could really see the stitching there. That was kind of cool. I like that. All right. Let's give it a little bit of a brown. Should I just use... Yeah, I'm just going to use the regular brown. So I'll take this brown. that's the one thing. If I'd have stayed away from that red wash, I think the hair shade was beautiful. I liked it a lot. Okay. But I had to mess with it. Okay, so we'll do this. And we'll just see if we can't give it a little bit, make it a little darker, and see if we can't set it off a little bit from the dress. I don't want it too dark. Just a little bit. Don't know if I'm happy with that. So, but we'll wait and see. We'll come back to that. Right now, here's what I want to do. I want to find my blue and get a little bit, just a little bit of blue. There we go. And we're going to really water this down quite a bit. And see what happens if I use this on the face. See if it brings out some of the features on her face and hands. I can get that into the cracks and crevices. Looks like there's a spot where the paint came off of her nose. That's not what I wanted. Let's get a little bit of blue into her hand, so you can see if she's got fingers. Let's see, does she have fingers? It didn't really mold too much for fingers on her. Alright. Look at a little blue around this stump of a neck she's got. I mean, I think that's one of the problems I'm having is this paint. Maybe these things just aren't meant to be painted. It's not really wanting to adhere to the model great. Alrighty. That's not too bad. I think what I'll do is I will leave that for now, let that dry. Let's look back at those buttons on her. Okay. Fair enough. Alright, purple sash. Purple sash, purple sash. Do I want to just kind of do an ink on the purple sash, or do I want to actually paint a purple sash? I think that's the question. Let's see. Do we have a purple that we like? There's purple, there's purple. I thought I had like a real deep purple. And I do, and it's a new paint. A little Naggorth Night. Alright. And we'll try it kind of thin down just to see what it does. And if we like it. Ooh, I like the color though. I do like that color. Yep, I've run out of pots for my palette, so now I'm using the top. Okay. Alright, so let's see what we can do here. Okay, we got that. Yeah, and color just does not seem to want to take to this real well. But I don't think I want this totally painted through, so we'll see what happens. All right. Let's keep working this. Okay, I kind of like this so far. We'll get that line here. It comes up a little bit. We'll get this line in here. going around to the hair. Gotta be careful. I don't want to give her purple hair, just like I didn't want to give her pink hair. Let's hold her upside down a little bit. Let's see, where is that belt? Oh, you're a naughty belt. You're hiding under there, aren't you? All right. See if I can get that. Let's see. Nice and gentle. Let the brush do the work. Yep. All right. Kind of like The Simpsons. Let the pike do the work. Okay. So let's get right into here. Get that sash going. Nice and easy. Yeah, it's going to be hard to kind of talk while I'm doing some of this stuff because I'm so used to just kind of holding my breath. And part of it's so I don't move, and part of it's I'm holding my breath because I'm just praying that I'll be lucky enough to paint this. All right. Okay, let's see. We got that. Then we got a little touching up to do, huh? I think I want a brush with a better point. It's not the greatest brush in the world there. A little water on this brush. All right. Might have a little too much water on this brush, but we'll see what happens. All right, so we got that. How are we doing here? We'll come around here, give this another coat. Give that a coat. Let's get some more purple on here. Let's see. There's that little bit of pink showing through, and I don't know. I don't know if I might keep that. I just want to get it a little bit more uniform in here. There. All right, I think we need a little bit more Naggorth Night. Not a lot, that's for sure. Not a lot, because that's not a huge paint surface that we're painting. All right. Okay, take a little bit of that excess off, and let's take a look again. Let's see if I can get this little part here. And just kind of keep dabbing, and every time you dab, a little more color stays on it. And that ghostly belt. Okay. What do we got under the hair? We can see if we can just touch that. All right, and then the underside. Let's get that edge. I think we just need to get some of those spots where it's a little too pink. Although I don't want to take it all the way up because it looks like a highlight. All right. That's not bad. I'll live with that. Okay, let's come back to the buttons. All right. Or they're not buttons, but you know what I mean. Maybe you don't know what I mean. Nobody knows what I mean. Okay, here we go. All right, so nice and easy. We'll paint brown on that, a little brown on that. Yeah, you can kind of see those. I like that. It gives it a little bit of definition. Okay. Not sure what that line is from. Let's take a look at that. I think what I want to do, though, what I really want to do is just highlight her face just a hair. Not her hair, just a face, but her face just a hair. Interesting. This is an interesting lesson. I think when I do the next one, I'm not going to be doing washes. I think I'm just going to be doing paint. Because she just looks so chalky. And I think if I just did regular paints, that would take care of it. And I could probably still give her some translucency by just not using a lot of pigment in the paint. But we'll see what happens. Okay, I'm not going to do inks on the next one. No ink. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to get a little bit of my light blue. And I want to get a little bit, I might as well use the regular blue. Let's see, a little bit of white. I'm starting to mumble a little bit, and that's not good. All right. Let's put a little white there too. I want to just kind of see which of these I like better. Okay. So, if I just kind of come back to here, to my blue ink, to just kind of color my white a little bit. How does that look? That's kind of dark. I need it lighter than that. All right. Because I don't think this is going to work. That's too, I don't know. Well, let's see. That's not bad, actually. Get a little bit of that blue in there, so. Let's see what it looks like. Yeah, I think I like that. Okay, now let's just do this really, really carefully. All right, so looking at you. Here's looking at you, kid. The forehead. Get the nose. The edge of the hand. A little bit on the cheeks. I don't like the side of the nose though. Let's see if I can take some of that off. I think I might be at that point that I was talking about where you walk away. And blue is always tricky because it tends to dry darker than it looks when you put it on. At least I find that. All right. Do we have any touch-up to do here? Yeah, we'll do a little bit of touch-up here. Put a little blue line up. And give it a little highlight here in the back. Kind of funny highlighting. I doubt ghosts come out in the light much. Alright. So that looks like a good spot to kind of just let everything dry and let my eyes readjust to the figurine and see where we're at. I don't think we're quite done. I don't know what to do about the blotchiness. It's just kind of funny because I remember watching the guy paint the gelatinous cube, and I think this is exactly what happened to him. Ooh, that was very light. Okay. What happens if we do that? Bring that down here. Let's bring that off. Let's take that off here. That's a little bit too white. I do kind of like that idea, just a little bit of bright. I kind of always liked highlighting. Sometimes, you know, you go a little highlight crazy. Oops. Problem with that translucent miniature, sometimes it's hard to see where the miniature is. Sometimes it just kind of appears. Let's get this a little brighter. Get a little. right into there. And we'll brush that off a little. See how that looks? Okay. Good. There's part of me that keeps wanting to highlight her hair with this because I keep thinking that it's part of the dress. That isn't going to work. I don't want that brush. I want this brush. I want this brush. Let's get a little bit more of this. Paint this down a little. Paint this down a little bit. This mini's kind of kicking my butt. Alright. I don't know, are ghosts glossy or are ghosts matte? I will have to consult with my chitlins and see what they think. However, I better start taking my own advice and just kind of leave it and let it dry and walk away. Alright. We will come back to this tomorrow.
Alright, day 3. First, a disclaimer: that horrific noise in the background is my dog chewing on her bone. Alright, so again, I took my own advice and kind of waited a little bit and looked at it, and I can see there's about 3 spots that I want to do a little touch up on. So I'm going to do the red ink touch up and see if I can get them a little bit darker. And then there's not too much left unless I screw it up, which is always a possibility. Alright, I did notice down here it was a little bit too light just on the edge of the tombstone. So I'm going to kind of darken that up a little bit. And I kind of like the way that's going. I might not even have to brush up with anything else because that would be a darker spot. Look at the other side of the tombstone. Yep, there's a big white spot there. Well, big clear spot? I don't know what that even means. Alright, so we'll get a little red in some of these crevices. Kind of just bring that up a little bit, give it some continuity. Okay. Now I'm just finding other spots that I think need red. So going from 3 spots that need fixing, I'm increasing, and that's kind of what always seems to happen. Alright, there, that's too much red. We will brush some of that out and see how she looks. I think that looks better. We'll get a little more red around here. Just a touch more in that spot. Clean that up. Okay, so I think there was some under her arm that needed some touching up. I don't know. Right here, it's very clear, and I'm going to just kind of touch around there. Give this a little bit, almost like a shading here. I just don't like the way this paint flows on this miniature. It just doesn't seem to stick at all. Alright. We'll kind of blend that in a little. That looks better. There's a spot on her elbow that I don't like, that I'd like to see darker. Just kind of come around there. Let's go take the excess off. So it doesn't look too red. Okay, there's a little bit of white there that I want to get rid of. Get rid of that. Alright, and let's see. Right about here, there's a spot that I want just a little bit more red. Good. Okay, get a little more red there. Touch there. Let's see, does that need to be touched up? Yeah, right there does. Okay. And let's see, we'll go down. Kind of get that edge of her dress a little bit. Again. Get that. I just keep dropping my brush and then I lose it. Okay, get that blended in.
Get some of these grooves. I think I'm getting some ideas as to how I want to paint my next clear translucent miniature. And I'll probably do a video on that. That'll probably be the Banshee. And see if I learned anything or if this is all just a great trial comedy of errors where I didn't learn anything. Alright, so let's kind of do the double check. Oh, there's a big spot there that I think needs a little bit more red. Yeah, I'm destroying my brush there. How's that? Okay, let's get a little red in there. That's okay, sweetie. Okay, how are we looking? That looks better. Pretty acceptable. I'd like a little more red on the bottom here. It's always good, again, to kind of spin the mini. Let me get all those different angles. Get that a little darker. Almost doing shading with ink. Alright. We'll go in here a little bit. You know, it's nice when the mini works for you. Some minis don't have the structure on them to take the paint the way you want them to take the paint. And so sometimes you actually have to create the structure. Paint in the structure. And that's not really what I'm good at, I don't think, anyway. Always makes me nervous. Some people just really seem to have an eye for it, a knack for it. And again, I'm not an art student, not an artist. I'm just an old dude with a paintbrush, I guess. I don't know. A couple paintbrushes. Alright. I like that a little better. Let's get up here. There's a spot right there, and what I'm going to do is just put a little red ink around it so it's not a spot, so it actually kind of blends it. It can be a little area of a little bit more color. Alright, so now I'm going to check. Looks a little better. Clean my brush a little. Get a little bit more ink on there just to see if there's any other spots that look like they need just a touch. Under here, yeah, that was a spot that I know I'd seen earlier that I totally forgot about. Okay. Get that. Again, it's looking at that mini at from a different angle. Getting a few little spots in there. Okay. She's looking a little less blotchy. That's always good, but you know, the more color I put on her, the less translucent she is. So you know, I think ghosts in D&D probably don't necessarily look like ghosts until you get closer to them. All right, there. So I think the next thing that I wasn't planning on doing, that I have decided that I will do, are the eyes. And so, like all hobbyists, not true painters, but hobbyists, I hate eyes. Alright. So, what I was thinking is if I could just get her eyes white, if I could get 2 dots of white in there, I would be oh so happy. I think that would look creepy. I don't want to put any color in there. I just want them to be white, like milky eyes. And if I get that in there, I might be finished. And then what I'll do is, since this is a video about painting a translucent mini, I will probably go off camera and base it, and then I'll show the finished product. But you might have seen the finished product already, because I think I might have that at the beginning of the video. Alright, I noticed one spot on her wrist that I think needs just a touch more color, because there's not much definition. I better get some of that ink off of there. It's not going to turn out very good. Won't be very forgiving. They're just nice and gentle. Alright. Okay. I have another one of those ideas. Alright, where is the magic solution? There it is. Now that's the problem, is you get almost done and then you get all these little tiny projects that you think, oh yeah, I should do that. Oh yeah, I should do that. Oh yeah, I should do that. Okay, we'll get a little Nuln oil. Get that really sharp if I can. And we're going to just drop a little bit into these recesses to see if we can't bring out the stitching here. Just a little bit. And I think I need a little bit more than what I had on there. Let's try it again. Alright, just trying to find the holes. And then what I'm going to just do is just kind of clean that up a little bit. There. Did that help at all? Yeah, a little bit. You can kind of see them now. Okay. So, as I clean my brush and plan for what I call mini suicide, because I'm going to do the eyes and I'll probably screw them up, and then I'll have to redo the face and the shade won't be the same, and then I'll get more paint on there and all those horrible things are going to happen. But I'm going to do it anyway. Alright. So, here's the brilliant idea that I had in the shower, because that's where most brilliant ideas are, and amazingly, I remembered it even when I came out of the shower. What I'll probably do is two versions of this video. One will be the shortened version, maybe 20 minutes to a half an hour long, where it will emphasize the process, where I will probably, go over and voice over a lot of the spots and edit and speed up things so you can just kind of see the painting part of it. And then what I might do is with the same thing, I'll put in the whole video so you can listen to me talk to myself for 2.5, 3 hours. Doesn't that sound exciting? All right. Okay, so let's just see what kind of dots we get there. So I practiced a little bit there. That's all I'm going to do. Here's where. All right, you guys might not be able to see anything, but here's the contraption. Okay. So what I'm going to do is use this so I can see her eyes. Trying to get a good angle here. And holding my breath. Alright. I think my paint got a little dry. Isn't that great? Okay. It took me so long my paint dried. Okay. Oh, I hear puppy dreams in the other room. So the dog's no longer playing with the bone. But one of the dogs might be sleeping. And when she does that, she has dreams. And when she has dreams, she's chasing something, apparently. And she lets out little whimpers. So no, we're not doing anything mean to our dogs. It's just puppies having puppy dreams. Alright. And it's usually the older one that does that. Not the young bonehead. Speaking of which, she just kind of walked back in. Alright. Okay, let's get our point. Oh, that might be too much water. I want to get this. I don't want it too watery because then it'll run into the cracks. That's not what we want. Let's see, is this brush sharper? Let's see if this brush is any sharper. Let's get the water off of that. Okay, so we'll get a little bit of paint on there. Okay. So let's try it. Take the plunge. Let me get this brush wet so it doesn't all dry onto my brush. Okay, find her eyes. It's not even easy to see. Okay. Got a little bit down. You need more. That's too small. Okay, deep breath. Let's see. I think a little bit more to round it out. And of course, I missed. Oh yeah, that's too high anyway. Okay, let's get that big brush back out here. I'm going to try to get that white out. A little white out. I might even try this. That seemed to kind of work. Just be nice and gentle. Alright, so I took some of that blue paint off. I was kind of half expecting that to happen. Let me try the other side here, and then we'll see if we can't repair it. Let's see, get that to a point. Alright, so our eye is in that way. Get everything all braced up. Oh, that's not bad. That's not bad at all. Looks kind of creepy. Okay, let's get this out of the way. And let's see if I can show you. Of course, with these glasses, I can't see anything. Okay, I'll grab my other glasses here so I can see the screen properly. Turn out this light. Everything is backwards. There you can see the eyes. Alright, so what I've got to do, besides put my high octane glasses back on, is I think I need to make a little bit of blue. And just get above her eye, just a touch. Just a tiny, tiny touch. So I've already got some white here. I wonder if I could get away with the paint because it's a little more controllable than the ink. So if I can, ooh, it's going to ooze out a little bit. Get a little of this flat blue. And then we will mix with the big brush. So a little bit of white, a little bit of flat blue, a little more white, a little more white. Put it on my nail. That doesn't look half bad. All right. So now we pray for some luck. Okay, we'll get a little blue on this brush. Wipe a little bit off. I think I need my contraption. Just kind of walking my way, walking the paintbrush to the spot. Which actually seems to work sometimes. Okay, now what I'm doing is coming around the eyes a little bit. That doesn't look bad. The one eye might be a little bigger than the other. Let's see if I can make them close. Of course, you have to be looking at it under a magnifying glass with special glasses on to notice, but you know, I know it is. So I'm going to just touch that, and then I'm going to hand this off to my art consultant who's sitting over here and see how the eyes look. Check the eyes. How do they look? Look good? Passes muster. Awesome. All right. So there you have it. Okay, so I'll get rid of this contraption. I'm not sure if we need the light or not to be able to show you what she looks like. Here, let's see if I can focus this. It's got a manual focus on it. Diffuse light, so here you can see the eyes. She's still translucent. Let's see if I can show you the translucency of this. Move my little light here. No, that ain't gonna work. Stupid cameras and lights and stuff. All right, but if you get a light behind her, you can actually see the translucency. So that's it. It just took me, boy, that took 20 minutes too. Oh my gosh. So it only took me about 2.5, 3 hours to paint that. For me, that's quick. All right, that's really fast. And so I'm going to base it. I've been looking at some pictures of old headstones. It'd have been cool if they'd have left a little more headstone. I could maybe get something written on this headstone, but I'm going to make it an old headstone. I'm probably going to put like maybe kind of a beige, like a sand here, like nothing grew on her grave, and kind of do it that way. I don't think I'm going to widen the base because I don't think it needs that. All right, so that is it. Oh, I've still got this thing focused for really close up. How's that? Again, there she is. I will get a picture of her, better picture of her, and put that up probably at the beginning and the end. Thank you very much, and I hope you enjoyed that and hope you learned something. I don't know if I've learned anything or not. I'll see what happens with my next mini. All right, this is RadOldDad checking out.